Here we are, the night before Halloween, and the 35th anniversary of Midnight Mutants, the last standard release on the Atari 7800, at least in most territories. I've wanted to cover this game for a long time, and with the 35th anniversary lining up directly with my month of fright here on my channel, what is a better time to do it? Now, the Atari 7800 didn't exactly have a deep library of RPGs or action-adventure titles. In fact, Midnight Mutants is the only one of its kind on the system. And since I absolutely love action-adventure games and RPGs, I was beyond excited to play Midnight Mutants. And, well, I have mixed feelings about the game, that's for sure. There are some things about this game I absolutely love, but there are some very major glaring flaws with this game that keep it from being an all-time classic and something I can easily recommend to other people. Hey there guys, I am Troy Schultz, the Anti-Gamer Slayer. And this is the final review of my month of fright. Also, make sure to check out my other videos on Ghosting Goblins and Master of Darkness as well, as I also did them as part of my month of fright here. Tomorrow, I'll also be hosting a Discord watch party of the movie House on Haunted Hill at 6 o'clock in the evening tomorrow. The link to our Discord is in the description, so make sure you join. Also, make sure to check out my game Novo Rebellion, which is out on itch.io and Steam right now. And help support the studio and the channel, if you get the chance. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's dive into Midnight Mutants. First, let's start with the positives, because Midnight Mutants actually has a few. The story, for starters, because Midnight Mutants actually has a surprising amount of story and lore for an Atari 7800 title. I want to start by saying that you don't get all of the story from the game itself. The manual is absolutely required reading material if you want to play this game and fully understand the story. The story itself starts in 1749 when Witchfinder General Jonathan Harkman, I believe is the name, burns the warlock Dr. Evil at the stake. Of course, Dr. Evil swears vengeance on Hartman's bloodline. Fast forward to 1992, Jimmy, our young protagonist, is spending Halloween week with his grandpa, who is played by none other than Al Lewis, aka Grandpa Monster himself. But before the candy and costumes can begin, Dr. Evil returns, somehow, and blasts Grandpa with blue fire and traps him inside a plastic pumpkin. From there, it's up to Jimmy to save him before the night is over. And even the bosses have weird backstories. Take Simon Yeager, for example, the ram-headed monstrosity. He used to be a human, but a genetic experiment went sideways and he became a ram. And then, in a desperate, very, very bad plan, he drank human blood, hoping to reverse the genetic experiment effects, which makes absolutely no sense. Instead, he became a skeleton ram, which makes even less sense. Like, what? I don't get it. How does any of this make any sense? Look, I ain't no genetic scientist. I'm a game designer, but last I checked, you can't just change species by any scientific means I know of. And now would be a great time for me to use my time phone. Who better to explain what in the ever-loving hell is going on than Thomas Hutt Morgan, a Nobel Prize-winning genetic scientist. Yes, this is Thomas Hutt Morgan speaking. Professor Morgan, thanks for taking my call. Quick question. If I wanted to run some genetic experiments on rams, is there any chance I could accidentally turn myself into a ram?
My dear sir, that is biologically absurd. Genes determine inherited traits across generations. You cannot simply become a ram through experimentation. At worst, you would have a very confused sheep and a very disappointed scientist.
Okay, but just for the sake of scientific curiosity, say I did somehow turn myself into a ram. Could I then drink human blood to change myself back?
Absolutely not. Blood is not a potion. It carries oxygen and nutrients. It does not rewrite chromosomes. Drinking human blood will not restore you to humanity. It will, however, make you very ill and quite possibly arrested.
So I'll take that as me drinking human blood will not turn me into a ram skeleton.
Skeletons are internal structures. They do not emerge because you ingested blood. To suggest otherwise is to misunderstand anatomy, physiology, and common sense. If you'll permit me, my genes are arranged linearly on chromosomes, inherited through gemones, and expressed in particulable ratios. Blood consumption has no bearing on this, and the very notion of
Look, we're just gonna mute him and quietly hang up on him. Because Mr. Morgan here has a very bad habit of slipping into lectures that are really long and really complex. And we're here to talk about Midnight Mutants, not about fruit flies and chromosomes. But we did get an answer to our question from the greatest genetic scientist in the world. Now let's get back on topic and talk about Midnight Mutants some more. So yeah, if there's one thing I can give Midnight Mutants credit for, it's the fact that it has a ton, and I mean an absolute ton, of lore and in-game story to explore. And pretty much all of the in-game story and lore is told to you by Grandpa. And I'm always super excited to read whatever he has to say, because it's always super interesting and cool. Even if it is a little weird. If any of you guys have any good memories about the story, or cool things you want to point out, or any fan theories, please leave them in the comments below, as I heard this game has a massive fan base, and I want to hear from you guys. So if you like the story, just leave a comment down below explaining why, and what you like so much about it, because I am genuinely, extremely interested. Next up, the music. And the music in Midnight Mutants actually isn't that bad. It's not the usual ear-raping madness that you generally expect from the Atari 7800 or the 2600. I say that way because, well, the 2600 and the 7800 use the exact same sound chip. Yeah, it was a really bold strategy on Atari's part, and trust me, it didn't pay off in the end. Now, I should point out, none of the music here I would actually listen to on my own time outside of the game. But if I had to say what track was the absolute best, in my opinion, that would be the boss music. I mean, just take a listen to this. It's awesome. Now, let's talk exploration. If you go into Midnight Mutants, blind, or at least try to, it's a surprisingly rewarding experience. You'll probably need a guide eventually, especially when the game throws cryptic puzzles or brutal difficulty spikes at you. But if you hold off and just wander around aimlessly and randomly, you'll stumble upon some really cool stuff. One of the best moments for me was accidentally finding a pirate ship hidden in the caves. I wasn't looking for it, I just wandered in and boom, there it is. That moment was awesome. Whether it's a new weapon, a health refill, or a lore drop from Grandpa, the game rewards curiosity. It's got that Zelda-like sense of discovery, even if it is a little rough around the edges. But here's the catch. The game is so open, you can explore pretty much anywhere from the start, which sounds great until you walk into a zone where the enemies are way too strong for you and you get wiped out instantly. It's a design choice that's going to come back to haunt it when we talk about the negatives.
Alright, now we get to the negatives, and believe me, they aren't just minor annoyances, they are game-breaking flaws. First up, the difficulty. You better enjoy seeing the game over screen, because you're going to be seeing it a lot. But here's the real problem. It's not that you just die. It's that when you die, you go all the way back to the beginning of the game. No saves, no checkpoints, period. You gotta beat Midnight Mutants in one sitting, deathless.
And sure, once you know what you're doing, you can beat the game in about an hour, but if you die, it's back to square one every time. Combine that with an open world design that lets you stumble into extremely high level areas early, and you got yourselves a nightmare of a game. And it really is sad, because this game was doing so much right. Then at the last second, it had to go and shoot itself in the foot. Let me show you guys how Nintendo handled this. You see, in Zelda, if you die in the overworld, you respawn at the start point. But you get to keep your gear and your progress. You don't have to start over from scratch. And theoretically, if you knew what you were doing, you could beat Zelda in one sitting without saves. Midnight Mutants could have done that. And it didn't even need the save feature. Just respawn system that respects your time and lets you keep your gear and your progress. But no, it acts like an arcade game. Except it's not. It's an RPG game in disguise with arcade-styled punishment. Like, I'm a guy who beat Ghosts and Goblins, okay? And I had to rely on save states to beat Midnight Mutants. You got that right. Someone who beat Ghosts and Goblins had to rely on an emulator's save states in order to beat Midnight Mutants. The game is that hard. Like, if anyone in my comment section beat this game back in the day on real hardware, I just have to hear from you. Like, leave a comment down below explaining to me how you managed to beat this game on real hardware. Like, to me, it seems borderline impossible. And I'm just super curious if anyone ever actually did it. I'm sure there's someone out there, but I don't think it's going to be that many. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Midnight Mutants. It's not a horrible game. In fact, with emulators, I'd say it can even be fun. But on real hardware, I just can't recommend it. I wish I could, because this game does so many cool things. If it had just included a save feature, or even a basic checkpoint system, this could have been one of the all-time greats, a goated game. But as it stands, I can only recommend you play it if you're playing with save states. I still enjoyed my time with it. It's definitely one of the better games on the Atari 7800. But let's be real here, it wasn't going to sell the system. This game came out in 1991, and The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past was just a year away. So there was no way this game was going to be able to compete with that game. But I will say, Midnight Mutants was a nice swan song for the 7800. Anyway, thanks for watching my Midnight Mutants review. This wraps up our month of Fright here at Centurion Dragon Studios. If you made it all the way through, you are an absolute legend. Thank you. Like, comment, and let me know, did you play this game back in the day? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I heard this game has a huge fan base, and I think it'll be very interesting to hear from you guys. Anyway, this is Troy Schultz, the Anti-Gamer Slayer, signing off!